Welcome everyone to another episode of FitFam, and we're really excited about today's episode. And as always, we have Miss Natural Olympia Hilary.
And this guy to my left is the formulator, Dougie Doo.
Dougie Doo. All right, so
He's like, so that's the kind of episode.
that's it. Okay. Well, today is actually really exciting because it's the day after the latest edition of Ironman Magazine came out, and Hilary's on the cover. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And
Cool.
we thought that we'd actually today go through some of the articles and the cool things in Ironman Magazine as a podcast. But the reason is because there was so much information. I think, we owned Ironman Magazine for a while and followed it forever. It's the oldest fitness magazine in the world. And I think out of all the times I read it growing up, and even when we owned it in conjunction with Danny Keikos, who owns it now, I think this one actually has the most compact articles as far as a whole bunch of different information in one compact space and that. And so we wanted to go through it with you to kind of maybe teach a few things and have some nuggets, but also just kind of hopefully through a little inspiration.
I like that. I also wanted to mention, you don't know that I'm about to do this.
Okay.
But I do want to mention the fact that it's so easy to deflect worthiness. And, when I speak in a couple of months, that's something that I'm going to address because I've been guilty of that many, many times. And I was super guilty of it when this came out. Do you remember me looking at you and being like, who you know, not what you know? And to an extent, that is true. However, this is going to be a little bit of touting myself, but I think it's important. However, had I not dedicated years of my life to bodybuilding, it wouldn't matter who I knew because I wouldn't be on the cover. And so I just feel like people can really don't do what I've done and really embrace when they're worthy of something.
Yeah,
so
I like that. Well, I didn't know you were going to say that, but that's really cool. But I'll add to that, and that is we owned the magazine for a while, and you were never on the cover, right? It's because you actually became Miss Olympia after that, after we sold it. And you became Miss Natural Olympia Figure Masters division the second time and the third time. And so you are more than worthy to be on the cover because as the partner with you on the cover, Dr. Cichonski, both of you are three-time Olympia Champ, Natural Olympia champions and in your own division. So I think that it is important to kind of look at that and say what you're worthy of and what you want and kind of your future self that we talk about a lot lately. So
and I like being able to own the decisions that you've made, both great and not so great, both bad, both good. But the fact that you get to own them means that you get to enjoy and just be able to savor these cool moments. So this is a cool moment for me.
It is. And so one of the cool things that we wanted to talk about and have it be kind of the theme of this podcast is that the title of the magazine is the 40 Plus Optimal Health Playbook. And I really like that. It was actually something that Danny and Denise Keikos came up with for this edition. And it was, look, the majority of the population in the United States right now is over 40. And they're really hitting that point where what they do daily with their health determines whether it's going to cost them a ton of money, because they're going to get sick and that and have a low quality of life and just happiness, or they're going to just kick in and have this beautiful time of their life.
And beautiful time the rest of their life. Because I think the older I get, the more you become very aware that your time is limited, that you are closer to death every day. And so I think the older that I get, the more that I value experiences and time and my health and understand how important they are. Because inevitably, we're all hitting the same.
Yep.
We're going to die.
We're all going to hit the dirt. So, absolutely. So let's start going through it. And I want to point out, even on the cover, besides it being the 40 Plus Optimal Health Playbook, that the articles and that in here that it talks about, we call it the mature muscle edition. And I love that was the chosen, name for it. It's to help create mature muscle, because mature muscle helps with all of the things we're going to talk about, all the articles, mindset,
Yeah.
balance, everything.
Sure. And it can be easy to think, oh, I'm too old now. How in the world am I going to develop mature muscle? But I think a lot of people would be really surprised, even people that have been out of the gym for years, could be really surprised at how quick muscle memory comes back. Even my brother, who's just been back in the gym recently, and he loves himself a good run on the treadmill, not so much time in the gym, but he has maintained a lifestyle where he's a worker and he's lifting heavy things constantly. And so even for him, he's realizing that muscle is there and its strength is there. He's just working daily to get it back to where it could be.
Absolutely. That's a really good point.
And to strengthen the weaker muscles that don't get worked when you're just doing like manual labor.
Absolutely. And that's the key. I think a lot of people think that because they have a job that might be tough in one area when they're using their muscles in one area through the day, that then they're fine. But really, they need it more than people that are out doing other things. Because they're creating a muscle imbalance in their body. And Danny Caicos,
that's funny.
owner of Ironman. And so I think that's really the key, is for us to understand that mature muscle, you need to balance muscle. And even if you do work in an environment to where it's a demanding on the muscle, you need it more to create that balance. You're going to create huge imbalances in the body. So, excuse me, let's jump ahead to the editor's letter. It was really nice of them to allow us to allow me to write the editor's letter for the magazine this time, because it was such a really important magazine that we wrote a lot of articles for it, and it was really cool and nice of them to do. And in the editor's letter, I really wanted to point out one thing with that article, and it was like, can I please get this across? And really what it came down to was discipline, is that the most important thing really is discipline, because sometimes you can even have not the best nutrition plan in the world, but it still fits within like getting, your calories where they need to be, but maybe they emphasize certain macros, proteins or fats more than maybe they should, or the workout program, maybe it's more CrossFit-y versus the way, some other way. And, but if you're disciplined and consistent, you're still going to get great results. And then you'll probably find out there might be a few tweaks that need to happen, but discipline is the key.
Yeah, no doubt. So you say right here, I would like to propose to you that your health should be your number one priority in life. That by making health your number one priority, your family, your religion, your work, and everything will benefit twice as much, because you're more present and your ability to take part in different events will compound. So I like that concept.
Yeah, and I think we've felt that.
We've talked about that many times too.
Yeah. And we've seen it in our life.
Yeah.
So great. Highly recommend doing that. And then the first major article of the magazine is the feature cover article on Hilary, which is really cool. It's quite a few pages long. And the thing that I liked about that, besides all the cool pictures, was, excuse me, was the cool thing I liked about it was something to where you had this great writer, right, Eric Lipton, interview you. And he came up with some really great questions. I'm like, oh, wow, that's a great question. I wonder how she's going to answer it. And I just loved the answers. And I think it has a lot of relevance for people that are just wanting to improve their health and to find their why. Like, why should it be that important? And can you maybe talk about that experience and a few other questions?
Yeah. So first of all, it was a really cool experience. I think everybody should have an opportunity sometime in their life to be interviewed. And it doesn't matter who is interviewing you, but being able to really contemplate certain questions about why you do or do not do things is really a cool experience. So one of the things that he had mentioned was, he says, you're quite successful in a number of areas. Can you tell us about your career and family? So from that, my answer was basically that we've been married for 22 years, 3 boys and a daughter, 2 grandsons, a daughter-in-law. And from day one, from the get-go, and the earliest that I can remember what I wanted was first and foremost a family. I wanted to be a wife and I wanted to be a mother. And so that was a driving force behind who I was going to become, who I would marry, and the children that I would have. Bodybuilding and health, you know, that because of your career and my desires to live a healthy lifestyle. You know, we have our business, Optimal Health Systems, and then we have bodybuilding. And the thing is that family always was paramount. Family was first. Very close to family became my obsession with bodybuilding. And I would say it was a legit obsession. Still is. And I feel like I can manage the obsession pretty well and sometimes manage it better than other times throughout the year. But by allowing family to be first and knowing that no matter what, I would make the sacrifices that needed to be made for my family, and then allowing myself to have my own identity through bodybuilding, which was, you know, another question, the journey of competing. What bodybuilding did for me was it gave me my own identity separate from being a wife and a mother. It became my thing, my own, that I got to own and, you know, fail or succeed on my merit. So,
yeah, so there was another question that you brought up that I thought was really cool. And it was, you know, what do you get out of it? You know, how's your journey of competing been and what do you get out of it? And I know that's kind of a little bit of what you were saying there, but I love that you were talking about the importance of your spouse and other people being on board with you. And of course I was on board, but you can't force children to do anything, right? And the cool thing about watching the children growing up was that they saw their mom there for their absolute needs, but also seen her in the gym. And many times they needed to come to the gym. And so then they'd start picking up a few weights. So they would hang around and talk. And all of a sudden they became supportive of it. They got behind it. They saw the work behind it. So when they went to the shows, they were, you know, cheering louder and they were a part of it. And I saw that basically kids don't do what you say, they do what they see.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with that. I think we've also mentioned many times that some of the best conversations that we've had with our children have been within the walls of our gym. And I think that's because all kinds of hormones are being released as you're lifting, and it does ignite conversation. And the struggle that you feel within a gym when you are trying to build muscle is not unlike the struggles in life, where the most growth happens at the time that you want to give up the most.
Absolutely.
You know, and so no, it's bodybuilding's been an incredible path for us, and then not to mention the fact that we've gotten to visit lots and lots of cool places and meet lots of cool people.
Absolutely.
Greece, actually, was it Greece or England? England just came up on my phone, and the fact that we've visited England,
London and Paris,
London,
and all that.
Through bodybuilding is really
Why don't we
cool.
go one more of the questions from, you know, that article? He's
Yeah.
asking you about your nutrition plan.
Yeah, I really loved this question because when you're in bodybuilding, things can become very, very strict and restrictive. And the thing that I love about the way that we have chosen to take on bodybuilding and nutrition in general is that we never eliminate an entire macronutrient. Are we very careful about the macronutrients? Absolutely, and everybody should be. And when we're talking about macronutrients, we're talking about proteins, carbohydrates, and fats. And I love the fact that no matter what time of my competing season, none of those are completely eliminated. A lot of competitors, as they're trying to get closer to stage and trying to get as leaned out as possible, will almost completely eliminate carbohydrates. I've never gone, I don't believe, ever below about 100 grams of carbohydrates, which is really commendable, I feel like.
And that's like 400 calories a day at least of carbohydrates. So that's really good.
Yeah. So, so we talked about our nutrition plan. I did mention that for the most part, most of the year, we are a very healthy and health-minded family. So we eat pretty well. We don't have a lot of garbage in our house. However, there are times that we indulge. We indulge around Thanksgiving, around Christmas. Birthdays, we all allow ourselves to have a little. And then also, you know, something that has been really fun for us is when we travel, we try to find the best of both worlds. I'm a foodie, so I want to try things that are yummy and not good for me.
Unique to that location too.
Unique
So-
to that location. But we also love to find the organic, the raw, and we seek out those restaurants as well. So I think when you become really involved in your nutrition plan and how you feel from what you eat, you enjoy and you know when to limit and you know when to kind of indulge. And
I love that.
I think we have a
Love
good
that.
balance of that. Yeah.
Highly recommend everyone kind of going to the article. Is there anything else in there that you wanted to mention about that specific article?
We kind of already touched on health being your number one priority. And I like the concept of understanding health in its totality.
Right.
When we were talking about health, your personal health, we're talking about your mind and your body. And, so I like that concept. Goals. I think that last one I'll touch on a little bit. My ultimate goal for competing. And sometimes I'm like, it won't happen, because the whole purpose in all of it is what it takes to try to get there, right? What we gain each time we get just a little bit closer. So maybe it will happen. And mindset, I know you're looking at me that way, but the major goal always is to win the open, But
What do you mean by the open?
The figure open. So the open class is all ages, and
But you did win it at the USA's.
I did win at USA's, the Natural Olympia. It's to win the granddaddy. It's to win Natural Olympia figure open.
There you go.
But I did mention to him that I am not opposed to, and I think my brain works this way because I don't see myself ever outgrowing or not wanting to be somewhat involved in bodybuilding, that I would have no problem jumping the lines and entering a different category. So
yeah, and that's great. And I think I had someone mention something to me the other day just on that subject, because we talk a lot about the journey and about realizing that most of the time, whatever you get to the goal or reach, whatever it is, like say we don't even hit the goal type thing, you'll look back and say, wow, in all reality, the journey was so cool, that the happiness was there. But
yeah, what you learn about yourself in the process of the sacrifice of the goal.
right. And I think that is extremely true. And we try to teach, especially the younger people, like, enjoy the journey. But I think it's critical to understand that goal really needs to be so deep ingrained that it's going to happen. And that truly is the end goal. The end goal is accomplish, the Olympia figure open title. And that's really the end goal, knowing that along the way, our job is to make sure to enjoy the moment, smell the roses type thing. But it's hardcore. This is the goal. This is going to happen. This is who I am.
Yeah, and listen, if the goal isn't big enough and if the goal doesn't scare you enough, it won't beat you into submission for it. You won't
Absolutely
be willing to sacrifice, what's necessary to achieve it. So it has to be a big one.
Absolutely. Next article,
natural hormone balance. I love this one.
It is a great one. And it's on what page? Page 20, I think. Page 20 in the magazine. And this is one that I wrote about the importance of going about balancing your hormones naturally, and not just balancing them naturally, because we've done a podcast on it, but into the importance of realizing you need to address it. That as we age, our hormones will change, but because of the environment we live in the world today, with the chemicals in our foods, the plastics and the phthalates and everything that's going on in our food, the processing of them, then we all need to worry about our hormones, and we all need to know where our hormone balance is, and do the things that are needed to keep them in balance. And in the article, we just talk about some of the important things, and we talk about them a lot. We'll find out about your blood work.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention one thing, because this is an article written by Doug, and this statement right here: if your primary care doctor doesn't ask you about your nutrition, exercise, and supplements you take before prescribing a drug, he or she is first and foremost a drug dealer.
What's wrong with that?
That's aggressive.
I have a lot of medical doctor friends, and so they heard me say that before, and they're like, okay, got it. Not they 100% agree, but the point is that if you're a doctor and you take the Hippocratic Oath to help people, improve their health and you don't even ask about the number one cause of disease, and there's no question the number one cause of disease is lifestyle. Absolutely, positively, no one can argue it. The research is overwhelming, right? 85% of all disease caused by lifestyle. And if they don't ask you about lifestyle and help you with it, then what are they? Especially if they give you a prescription. Yeah, drug dealer.
Yeah, I think at least being mindful and in asking the question, because here's the deal. A lot of people that go to their doctor don't realize the importance of their nutrition and their lifestyle in their life to feel better. So even if there's not a complete solution from your health practitioner, at least the question ignites a, well, why did he ask that? Why would it matter how I ate? So it at least gets you thinking.
Right. And, I've had some health practitioners say, well, I didn't go to school for the lifestyle. I went to school for this. True. You also didn't go to school to physical therapy, but if a patient needs it, you prescribe physical therapy. So the doctor should be prescribing nutrition. Go see a nutrition. They should be prescribing exercise and go see a personal trainer. That's kind of the point. And we're so far away from it. It does sound crazy, but it's really how it should be. And unless someone speaks up and says this is what the doctor should be prescribing on their pad, is nutrition, balance, is exercise, will never make a difference. And so the first thing is really that.
So talking about natural hormone balance, let's go into it.
So let's talk about a couple things, and I'll refer people to read the article.
Okay, perfect.
But one of the biggest things about hormonal balance, I don't think we've talked about in detail, is digesting your food. That nature is already taking care of the situation to help you balance your hormones if it can get the nutrients from the food we eat. And because the food is processed, we cook it, our body can't pull the nutrients to help balance the hormones, so just help digest your food.
I love it. So you say digestive enzymes are the silent heroes.
The silent heroes, because they're definitely, I think, there are very few of us, sounding that alarm, or not even an alarm, just, teaching people about it, right?
Yeah.
Like holding that beacon out there to shine on people. It's like, look, digest your food. Raw food contains enzymes. Great. Chew it well. When it's not raw, add back the enzymes to help digest it. And that way the body can pull the nutrients that are needed to either lower raise estrogen or lower raise testosterone and the other hormonal hormones in the body.
Yeah. So also exercise, the type of exercise you do for your hormone health.
And that's not talked about a lot too, because if you go to a doctor for hormone balance, right, although we disagree with the drugs and that, you're really going to get something that is going to, force the body into a reaction, and or even nutrients, give the body the ability to balance. What's not talked about a lot is that exercise itself can balance hormones, and many times is the only thing missing in people's life. A good solid exercise program that consists of strength training and aerobic, because both actually help the body secrete different chemicals for different hormones. You need good old weightlifting and you need cardio.
Yep, perfect.
Cool. So read the article.
Yeah, and it goes into supplements for hormones and then specific supplements for testosterone. So read the article. Those are some really good ones.
And on the cover, you were there with a great friend of ours, great man.
Such a great guy.
Chiropractor.
Incredible. Yeah, I was going to say incredible competitor, but also an incredible doctor.
Absolutely. And one of those that lives the lifestyle, right? Like this guy is never off.
Lives the lifestyle for years.
Yeah.
Look at this.
And Dr. Peter Cichonski, and love Dr. Peter Cichonski.
1981.
And so I think that his feature article I'd highly recommend, because he goes into the lifestyle of, I love him as a health professional, because the other thing I love to speak to health professionals and any doctor out there that sometimes raises eyebrows is, can your patient say, if I do what you say, will I get what you got? And Dr. Cichonski is one of those, is like, I guarantee every patient is like, what do you do? I want to do that, right? So he has a great article about, what is his why and how that led to the lifestyle he has to be, as you, 3-time natural, in the masters category, Olympia champion. So highly recommend that. Great guy. And I got to do one little shout out, because one of my favorite people on the planet, that I looked up to growing up, besides Sylvester Stallone and some of those others that everyone knows that knows me, is a guy by the name of Frank Zane. And
In
that's
fact,
where,
for years, after you hit the age of, I think, was it 50? It might have been a little bit before, but at least the age of 50, a picture very similar to this one of Frank Zane was your, it was like your
yeah, it was basically my model, my
vision.
goal, my vision board. Yeah.
Vision board.
And had up in the bathroom and just sitting there because that was it. So Frank Zane is absolutely one of those people that I've looked up to my whole life. And he's friends with Dr. Cichonski. And so there's actually an article, Training with Frank Zane, in here. And just today I was freaking out. It was in a big meeting with all the leadership team. And they're like, what's wrong? And I'm like, no, nothing's wrong. Because I saw a feed come over and it was Frank Zane holding the magazine with Hilary on the cover. I'm like, wait a second. Here's like two of my favorite people on the planet. Frank Zane.
I hope one's a little more.
Yeah, a little more. But my idol growing up, and Hilary, like holding the magazine with my wife as a cover. It was like, anyways, it was surreal to me how cool it was, and just how crazy things can happen in life if you just commit. So really cool.
Really cool.
You have a recipe in there.
Yeah, so this one's one of my favorite pumpkin protein pancakes.
Yeah.
And I will give a little disclaimer. They are a bodybuilder's pancake, but they are really, really good. And, you add a healthy enough syrup.
Boom. It's really
your
cool. So
protein
check out that recipe for sure. And I think it's really, really cool.
It's really good.
And there's another thing that, was mentioned in here about Lamar Gant. There's a great article. Lamar Gant's a powerlifter, probably one of the most famous powerlifters. Tells you how famous powerlifters are because most people haven't heard of them. But it's one of those cool articles that you'd want to read because powerlifting is more my world growing up, and I loved it because it's not subjective. I'm not as well equipped to handle subjectivity as Hilary is. Like, I'm like half the time I'm like, no, this person won, and it's subjective. To be in a subjective sports, you got to have a lot of fortitude. For me, it was like, no, if I lift more than you, I win. End of story. Go home. And if I don't, then I go home and work on it. But this guy really has a great story, and just recommend reading it. It just kind of the life growing up in a sport where, basically every day you're going to a gym, and bodybuilding is a lot the same way. You go to fail, right? You go to failure because that failure will create stronger, healthier muscles. It's a whole nother level of powerlifting because you truly fail at the highest level almost every day in hopes that you're able to increase that 1 rep max and stuff. And so the mental side of it is really neat. I think everyone can benefit from that article that's in there too.
So some other great articles. You were going to touch on this one quickly. Strength beyond 40.
Yeah, and this is an article that shows you all the benefits of strength training beyond the age of 40. Muscle mass preservation, increased bone density, enhanced metabolism,
improved joint health, enhanced cognitive function, hormone regulation. Honestly, I got to go back to that. I'm not sure that people really understand just how important weight training is for hormone regulation. I would say I would be pretty nutty if I didn't have bodybuilding and weight training. And I'm the first to admit, because I am an emotional being, and I know that about myself. But man, I tell you, lifting has helped me in so many ways for hormonal balance.
Yeah, and we kind of have a going joke is sometimes if I'll come home at noon or something and we're talking and there's like a little bit off.
I'm like, about running.
I'm like about the. have you been in the gym today? But it does. It makes a big difference, right?
It makes a big difference. So I'm talking, and that hormone wise, of course, and then also, cognitively, I feel like sometimes I'm not a great representative of that on this show because my brain doesn't always keep up. But I just feel like you can't ignore those two things that are so vital to make you feel great in life.
And the studies are really great on that, and we'll move on to the last couple articles, but showing they did actual studies on drugs that people are given, to be able to help with anxiety and depression and those things, and then a group that didn't have any drugs and just exercised, and they had the exact same benefit. And so it's like, it's such a huge thing. So really, man, just take that in. I know we've said it a bunch, but really internalize, wait a second, are you telling me that if I get to the gym, 30 to 45 minutes every day or on a treadmill, and work out that I'm going to get the same benefit as taking these drugs without the side effects? Yes. And that's based on the research.
I love
Okay.
that. Okay, so one of the last articles we wanted to touch on, I think there's two more, Adderall epidemic. This is Doug's baby. So, and being somebody that's kind of unfamiliar, except for the basic understanding of what Adderall is, never taken Adderall, so
Yeah. So
not that you have, but you know more about it.
yeah, I
Take it
haven't
away.
either. So, but the thing is, I've studied it a lot, and because it's interesting that so many high achievers, just like testosterone replacement therapy for men and women, right?
Yeah.
They hit an age and they're like, oh, well, you need to take TRT and that, which is, false. The same thing's happening with people saying, man, I just have cloudy thinking, or I'm not as focused as I was in clarity. And they're like, oh, you just need Adderall, like you're Adderall deficient. And it is this thing that's prescribed like candy, which is ridiculous. And even when it's not prescribed, it's one of the most easily accessible and abused drugs in the black market, meaning friends and people like, oh, yeah, I've got Adderall, here you go, that type thing. And
Yeah, so it works by increasing the levels of certain neurotransmitters such as dopamine and norepinephrine. Did I say it right?
Yep, perfect.
Woo. In the brain, which can help improve focus and reduce impulsive. How do you say that? Impulsiveness, but that's not what you wrote there.
Well, the whole thing is being able to, reduce the impulsivity, I think is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And being able to focus and just say, okay, let me really think about that for a second and not, go off crazy.
So what you're saying is that Adderall removes, or like you are more impulsive on Adderall. What are you saying there?
What we're saying is that you're able to think through things instead of reacting without thought, that you're able to think clear. And
On Adderall.
On Adderall. And you're like, well, I need to be on Adderall, right? Well,
I mean, when you describe it like that, it sounds very appealing.
absolutely. And it's just like we could describe testosterone like that, right?
Of
And that's the
course.
way the marketers do it. But what they don't talk about is the downside of it. And
So let's go through some of the benefits of it. So
Sure.
obviously the ability to think through things.
academic performance,
Yeah, so a
right?
deep level of thought.
Right.
The weight loss, right?
Right? There's some weight loss with it, more of an appetite suppressant, but it's mainly because you're revved up,
Right.
right? That type of thing.
Absolutely. Performance enhancement.
Yep. So performance enhancement really comes from being able to, from the, increased cognitive function, make decisions better and movement in that, even in performance. So like with games where you have to think through things, even basketball, now we have to decide where to pass or where to run or what to do. And
Yeah, and here's the thing. I know some people that are on Adderall, and I'm going to be honest. I watch them use it, and they do use it in some instances within their work to be more productive. But for the most part, I see them using it recreationally. They want to use Adderall because of how it makes them feel. They almost feel like they are on a high.
absolutely. And the fact is that it does do that. And that's the thing a lot of times when we talk about, when, we're talking against using steroids and we talk against Adderall, a lot of people that do that will make it sound like those things, they really don't have all those benefits. Well, they do cause all those things to happen. And that's why people are on them, right?
Right.
Steroids build muscle. Adderall does do that. But it comes at a cost, and you can accomplish the same thing naturally. That's the key, because wouldn't you like to have that? Yeah, that's really cool, but do it without the cost.
Yeah, so the cost, we're talking about cardiovascular issues, sleep disturbances, psychological effects, addiction and dependence, and then cognitive decline. And when you talk about all of those things and the vast, array of things that those things each cause is crazy.
It's crazy. So you take it for cognitive function,
Right.
for brain improvement, but what it's doing is causing cognitive decline.
Come on. It's the same concept as just about every drug there is.
Absolutely.
Right?
Is if you think about it, you're not Adderall deficient. So all you're doing is stimulating the brain. And stimulating the brain without added the nutrients and all that, then you're just wearing it out. And you wear it out very, very quickly on Adderall, versus giving the body the nutrients that the brain uses called nootropics, that then the body just has more fuel to the brain. And now it just has more energy and is not wearing out as fast. It's actually given energy.
Here's a question for you. Is there a time where you personally, Doug's opinion, this is his opinion, where you personally think that Adderall is the answer?
No. Now, if you ask me that about TRT or something like that, testosterone, there are times, but it's just that 95% of the time people claim it's their time and it's not. Adderall, I do not see ever a need for it,
So what
because
about the kids with ADHD
Mhm. So
and parents think it's a lifesaver?
then I would say you're on the right track. Look to the natural nutrients and herbs that can accomplish the same thing without killing that person earlier in life. So what's going to happen, right? And you're doing it as a child, that brain's going to overload and, become older a lot faster than an adult taking Adderall even. Like, it's worse for a kid to take it. And I understand, the place that it's abused the most right now is in college and right after college, right? That whole 18 to 28-year-old group is the ones that abuse it the most. And it's amazing that a lot of the people that are above that age group now that did abuse it then are some of the people that have come to us and have said, look, we know that it's causing issues, and I wish I wouldn't have gone on it, but how do we get off? And we help them get off of it. So there are answers to Adderall. Read the article, talk about it with a naturopath, holistic health professional, to get that help.
Love it. So the last article that we wanted to talk about is Blood, the River of Life.
Boop, boop.
People are going to be shook that there's an article on blood.
Hey.
JK.
And it's coming because it doesn't matter if you're wanting to be, live a long life, have a higher quality of life, improve performance. It all comes down to knowing the data, and the best place to get the data is the blood. The blood doesn't lie. And so we've talked about it a lot, but bottom line is get your blood work done, and then let that tell you your risk of disease, what you're deficient in, what toxicities there are, and be able to go from there. I just talked to a guy yesterday that said, I thought that everything was perfect, and I live this perfect lifestyle and take the supplements that I want and everything, and I didn't really think I needed to do blood work. And then I just realized that by doing it, that some of those things I was doing that I thought was healthy wasn't. I had liver issues, and it was like just game changer for me.
An abundance of one thing for one person can be perfect, and abundance of another nutrient for someone else is going to be a terrible thing. A very basic example of that is someone that digests protein wonderfully and somebody that has a really difficult time digesting protein.
Yeah, really good point.
So, and also, I don't know if you remember not too long ago when I was on David Meltzer's show, the question was posed to me, what nutrient does every woman, what did he say, above 40?
That was really interesting.
And honestly, it was a moment of like, my brain was not cooperating.
Well, this is a show on Apple TV, right? Office hours, and it's where a panel of 5 people fire questions at one person, and Hilary's in the hot seat. And the very last question is tell us the nutrient that all women over 40 should be on, right?
The truth of the matter is every single woman, especially if you're above 40, should be getting blood work done yearly.
That was your answer.
Yearly. And my response was, I wouldn't tell any woman that she has to be on something until I looked at her blood work, until her doctor looked at her blood work and gave recommendations off of that. Because what I do as a 40-year-old woman and what somebody else does is going to be totally different, and it's going to make what we need and what our bodies need completely different.
Absolutely. And so are there some basics Hilary could have went to? Vitamin D, calcium's more important as you get older, all that type of stuff.
D, EFAs.
Right, but I think she answered it perfectly, because he said one supplement. And the truth is vitamin D, calcium, essential fatty acids, all those things are critical, and they're more important for women as they age more than maybe others, right, than men. And so she could have answered that way, but it would have been multiple. And the best answer was that. So can you, ladies and men over 40, go and get a good hormonal pack, a balanced pack that of nutrients that is, really fits you more than just the basic vitamin? Absolutely. We do have enough research on, age and sex to know that there are some things like that. But overall, great answer with that. It's actually a great way to end the magazine. And I want to just suggest to everyone, go out and buy the Ironman Magazine. You can go to ironmanmagazine.com and get it from them. Feel free to DM us on Hilary's social, Hilary Kit Fit on Instagram or Facebook, or Douglas D. Grant on mine on Facebook and on Instagram, and we'd be glad to work with you to whether we get a digital copy to you or lead you to be able to get the magazine itself. We're just excited I'm excited that Hilary's on it, and I'm glad that she's owning it. That's been a long time coming, and it's a huge accomplishment that very few people get to be on the cover. And we love the articles in this, so I think this is the one magazine that I'd recommend being on your, I say the coffee table and be able to have. So congratulations.
Thank you.
And that's such a great accomplishment. And I think that it just shows that you can accomplish your dreams and still have your focus be on family and be able to, achieve whatever it is you're wanting in life and be able to basically shoot for the stars. So that's awesome.
Shoot for the stars.
So until next time, this is Miss Natural Olympia Hilary.
And this is Doug. Thanks for joining us. Formulator.
Doug, thanks for joining us. Formulator. It's a new one. Thanks. See ya.